Welcome to the Storyteller's Moon, a place where every tale carries you into a world of passion, mystery, and unforgettable emotion. This story will pull you in, so find a quiet corner, let your heart open, and step into the journey. Off Limits. Part 1. The Return. Maya didn't like surprises. She liked clean lines and predictable days. Plants watered on Thursdays, bills paid a week early, running shoes by the door. Lists nested inside lists until her life clicked like a soft-closed drawer. So when Jasmine texted, "Pull up, wings and wine at 7 sharp," Maya slid into jeans and a crew neck, grabbed a lemon cake from the bakery on the corner, and drove across town, humming to the radio, certain of how the evening would go. Loud laughter, old stories, one of Jasmine's dramatic reenactments that involved too much hair and very little truth. Familiar. Safe. Jasmine's porch smelled like dryer sheets and fried chicken. Somewhere, a neighbor's kid practiced trumpet. Brave, off-key. When the door swung open, warmth spilled out. String lights tangled under the ceiling fan, candles that smelled like vanilla, and clean laundry. Jasmine squealed, wrapped Maya in a hug, and captured the cake like a trophy. And then Maya saw him on the couch, and her heart performed a stunt she would never admit in public. Malik? The name left her mouth before she could stop it. He stood slowly, as if he had time to spare. The boy she remembered, skinny shoulders, crooked grin, endless energy, had come back wider, steadier, like someone had pressed him into shape. A fitted black tee clung to muscle that looked earned, not borrowed. Tattoos curved out from his sleeves, like stories that didn't belong to everyone. His beard framed a mouth that did not need help being interesting. Those eyes, dark, watchful, found her in the doorway and did not let go. "Hey, Maya." His voice had dropped an octave since he'd left. Velvet lined with gravel, like a song that could stay in your ear all day. Jasmine beamed, oblivious to the way the room had tilted. "Surprise. My brother is back in the land of porch gossip and lemon pepper." "Temporary," he says. "I'm saying God heard my prayer." Maya felt the old promise she and Jasmine had made at 12. No crushing on each other's brothers, no matter how fine they get. Rise like a road sign inside her. She stepped in because that's what you do when a house opens. The step felt like consent to something unnamed. "When did you get in?" "Last week?" Malik came closer. People who take up space have a way of making distance feel like a choice they allow you. He didn't ask. He just pulled her into a hug that landed with heat and cedar and a question under her skin. He held half a beat longer than polite. Her body, so loyal to plans and logic, betrayed her. Breath hitch, pulse jump, the tiny vertigo of wanting. When he let go, the room snapped back into sound. Jasmine teasing the neighbor, the TV murmuring a sports highlight, a pot lid rattling on the stove where grease had opinions. "Sit," Jasmine ordered, already 2 steps into a story about the parent who demanded that second graders be graded on vibes. Maya sat. Malik sat. Jasmine's voice filled the kitchen, and Maya kept pretending it was only Jasmine she was listening to. But when Malik spoke, rare, simple, everything in her narrowed its focus, like a camera finding a face. "You still writing?" he asked between wings, not loud, not casual either. Maya blinked. In high school, she'd been the kid with a notebook, scribbling between classes, tucking poems into library books like secret seeds. Adult life had asked her poems to sit quietly while it got serious. Rent, insurance, managers who didn't understand why breathing outside at lunch counted as self-care. She still wrote, but now she wrote in margins. Sometimes, she said, aiming for light. His gaze held, steady as a hand on the small of a back. Don't stop. Some things are supposed to hold you together when the rest forgets how. Jasmine slapped the table with a laugh. Okay, philosopher. Next, he's going to ask if we've considered the ethical implications of dipping a lemon pepper wing in ranch. Criminal, Malik said. Lying, Jasmine said. Context dependent, Maya said, and couldn't help smiling when he looked impressed, like she'd answered a question that mattered. When Jasmine ran upstairs to FaceTime, their mother, volume always on max, commentary always free, Maya carried plates to the sink, because hands need jobs and hearts forget their training. Malik rose too, rolling his sleeves to the elbow. A pale scar crossed his forearm, a thin crescent like a finger had pressed there and never left. She didn't ask. Scars tell their own story, and some stories don't belong to the uninvited. The fence is rotting, Jasmine called from upstairs, because even in another room, she could direct a scene. Malik's fixing it Saturday. Translation: I'm fixing it while he pretends to be a foreman. Malik rinsed a plate, water carving lines over his hands. You know she'll supervise me until I file a complaint with the HR department that is also her. Maya laughed. She said what she said. He cut his eyes sideways, something like a grin tugging. Come by. We'll pay you in wings and slander. Tempting, she said, aware of how close they were, how the kitchen had shrunk. He smelled like soap and air that had touched trees. Up close, flecks of amber rimmed his irises, a sun hiding in brown. Maybe I'll bring lemonade and pretend to be essential. You usually are, he said, voice so quiet she might have dreamed it. The upstairs conversation peaked, Mama declaring with holy authority that all fences are metaphors, then fell into a stream of gossip that could keep two women alive for hours. Maya said she had an early morning because that was usually true. Jasmine hugged her like always, all arms and perfume and a soft smack on the cheek. Malik walked her to the porch without asking. The night had cooled. The cicadas had opinions. Across the street, someone dragged a trash can to the curb, like it had wronged them. You're different, he said again, under the porch light that made edges honest. So are you. She hinted a smile. You used to be gravity's plaything. I got heavier, he said. In all the ways that count. You got still. He didn't make it sound boring. He made it sound like a skill. It looks good on you. There are compliments that slide off like rain and ones that soak in. She swallowed, nodded toward her car because bodies sometimes require a task when words start feeling expensive. He followed her down 2 steps when she caught the low tire with her eye. That's a little sad, she muttered, pressing her thumb into the rubber. He was already crouching. Move, he said gently. Not a command, a care. He popped her trunk, found the small compressor she had bought because an online list told her to, set it up without commentary. Watch the PSI climb like a sun. You been charming potholes again? I flirt with nobody, she said. I just mind my business and asphalt minds me. He smirked, capped the valve, wiped his hands on his tea, without acting like neatness was sacred. Call me if it dips. I'll pull up. You don't have to, lived on the tip of her tongue. I want you to, lived underneath it. She only said, okay. The drive home was 7 minutes of thinking she should not be replaying a hug, like it was a movie. Her apartment met her with a soft chorus of things that had learned her rhythms. Plants leaning toward the last light, the scent of the candle she never lit, the coat on the chair in a position that told the room about her day. She texted Jasmine home because rituals are little religions. Then she stared at a blank contact field and typed Malik before she could stop herself. Made it. Tyre lives another day? Thanks. The dots appeared, vanished, returned. Anytime. Get some sleep. It was nothing. It was everything. She placed the phone face down and went to the window, where the city let a few stars through, like forgiveness. In the glass, she could see her mouth tipping up, a softness that did not require permission. The old promise flashed again. Don't fall for each other's brothers. And she pictured her 12-year-old self, with braces and a lopsided ponytail, making vows like she understood what love would ask. Baby, she told the girl she had been smiling, you didn't even know. She pulled her journal down, the one that always opened to the page where she kept a small bravery. She wrote, some people come back louder. He came back quiet, and the room learned to make space for it. Then, because truth demands a price, she added, off limits, sure. Tell that to my pulse. The sentence sat there, warm and a little reckless. She closed the journal and slid it under her pillow like a charm. Sleep took its time coming. When it did, it brought a dream of fence posts, set straight, and hands that knew what they were doing. Morning would be lists and leggings, and the lemon cake plate, washed and returned. But night had given her a different kind of plan. And part of her, a part that was older than promises and as young as first crushes, knew she would show up on Saturday with lemonade, pretending she had come for the fence. She had not. She had come for the man who made the porch light feel like a witness. Part 2. The fence. Saturday arrived, smelling like cut grass and somebody else's charcoal. Maya slid her pitcher of lemonade into a tote next to a bag of cups and a container of peach slices she'd bought because summer still had a little generosity left. She told herself it was community service. She told herself she was useful. She told herself a lot of things. The truth rode shotgun beside the pitcher. She wanted to see him again and test whether last night had been a trick of porch light and nostalgia, or something with enough weight to keep its own balance. Jasmine's driveway was already a classroom for power tools. History of nails, geometry of rails, vocabulary of cussing. In the backyard, 2 post holes yawned open like mouths ready to be fed. Malik stood over one with a manual auger, shoulders working under the black tea, like the word capable had decided to become a person. Sweat glowed at his temples. He glanced up when she rounded the corner. The look that crossed his face was not surprise. It was recognition, like a clock. Noticing it has kept perfect time. "Supervisor is here," Jasmine crowed, bounding from the deck in an old college t-shirt and biker shorts. "What we got, Miss Maya?" "Lemonade?" "Praise God, from whom all hydration flows." "Also, peaches," Maya said, lifting the container. "Saint?" Jasmine kissed the air near Maya's cheek, then pointed at Malik. "Breaks every 45 minutes, or I call HR, which is me, and HR is feeling petty." Malik stuck the auger in the dirt and leaned on the handle, letting his breath catch. "You put HR on speaker," he said, "and I'll file a grievance about an unsafe work environment with excessive micromanagement." "Please," Jasmine said. "You breathe loud when you're getting away with something." "Occupational hazard." He wiped his forehead with his forearm and walked toward Maya like he was letting himself. "You showed." "Lemonade doesn't pour itself," she said, too casual to be innocent. He took the picture, fingers brushing hers, a skim of contact that felt like more. "We appreciate your service." "I demand respect, competitive wages, and an umbrella," she said, tilting her face to the sun. "We got a porch," he said, "and a chair with your name on it." "My name is already everywhere," Jasmine said, popping a peach slice in her mouth. "Maya, tell him to dig straight. He eyeballs and then leaves me with the crooked truth." Maya laughed and claimed the porch chair, notebook in her lap, because she'd learned that a pen in hand looked like purpose. Malik went back to the auger, and the morning settled into a rhythm. Metal and earth, wood and measure, Jasmine's playlist sliding from gospel to 1990s R&B to that one new song that pretended it had invented romance. She tried not to stare, and failed. He had that quiet competence some men wear, like a well-made tool, unflashy, exact, meant to last. When the auger stuck, he didn't swear. He reset his grip, found the angle, worked it out. When Jasmine insisted the panel needed just a smidge left, he gave it a fraction more than a smidge, and let her believe it was exactly a smidge. He lifted, placed, checked the level, adjusted, repeated. There was something devotional in it. Maya found herself jotting lines without meaning to. Set true. Nail what holds. Let the rails run straight, even when the yard won't. "You writing about me?" Jasmine called without looking, because intuition is a sibling to nosiness. And Jasmine raised both. "I write about everything," Maya said. "Uh-huh." "Make me sound skinny." "You're a threat," Maya said, which was true and useful. Malik glanced up and caught Maya watching. He didn't grin this time. He just held her with his eyes for a second that felt longer than it was, then returned to the work as if it had never not been his. By late morning, the line of posts had become a fence, a spine for the yard. Jasmine declared a union break and presented paper plates with overstuffed turkey sandwiches, like a revelation. They ate on the steps, knees touching, the kind of silence that's not empty but full of everything you don't want to spill. Sweat cooled on Maya's skin. A breeze tested the new fence and decided it could be trusted. "So," Jasmine said, mouth half full, "are we going to talk about how my brother is suddenly handy? Or do we accept the miracle and move on before the Lord withdraws it? I'm trying to impress HR, Malik said. You're trying to avoid your feelings, Jasmine countered, a little too slick for comfort. She looked at Maya, eyes sharpening. Maya be making poems about people who think they're a mission, not a person. Maya swallowed her bite and kept her gaze on the yard. Sometimes I make poems about fences, she said. Same thing, Jasmine said, and stood. I got to go to the hardware store because someone, she squinted at Malik, underestimates supply like it's a love language. Don't break anything while I'm gone, especially each other. The gate clicked. The yard let out the breath it had been hiding. Malik rolled his shoulders and set his plate aside. I really did forget the 2-inch screws, he said, as if explaining her absence to the air. Classic foreman move, Maya said, and then, because the quiet between them carried its own agenda. Do you like being back? He took his time answering. Birds heckled the fence. A neighbor's wind chime attempted to contribute and failed. I like breathing without counting. She looked at him. He didn't offer more. Counting what? She asked softly, because sometimes you do pull a thread. Seconds, he said, and his gaze flicked toward the tree line, like it remembered something the leaves didn't need to. Miles to cover. Ways out. The joke she had ready about the HR department died. She took a sip of lemonade to keep from saying, I want to know all of it. He sat forward, forearms on his knees, head bowed for a beat, like he might be praying or remembering how. I stayed gone too long, he said finally. At first it made sense. Then it just became a habit. People started expecting me to be smoke. Easier to keep floating than risk coming down. And now? She asked. And now I'm tired, he said simply. And I want to learn what staying feels like. It's messy. I forgot how to be seen by people who knew me when I was stupid. You were peak stupid, she said, grateful for an on-ramp back to light. He huffed a laugh. Facts. He turned, the corner of his mouth tipping. You weren't. I was, she said. I just did my stupid quietly. You're doing your brave quietly, he said, and the words landed in her like a held breath released. He stood, offering a hand. Come check this line. She stood without taking his hand because she was not ready to be steadied by touch. They walked the fence, shoulder to shoulder, the world small and honest for a minute. He pressed his palm to one rail, and it didn't budge. Not bad, he said. Impressive, she admitted. He looked at her. The look said he'd heard a second admission she had not voiced. The moment stretched, then snapped as Jasmine's voice returned ahead of her body, complaining about a child in the screw aisle who had discovered gravity and weaponized it. Afternoon leaned into its longer light. The fence became a fact. The work became cleanup. Malik coiled cords with the competence of a man who remembers where knots come from and why you don't trust them. Maya gathered scrap, aware of him at the edge of her vision, the way you're aware of a storm choosing its path. When Jasmine went into shower, the yard belonged to Wind and the two of them. Malik brushed sawdust from his hands and walked toward her, footsteps unhurried, eyes not pretending to be anywhere else. "Thank you," he said. "For what?" "For coming." He let the words be plain. For staying. She could have shrugged. She could have joked. Instead, she let the honesty stand and nodded once. "Okay." His gaze dropped to her mouth and back. The invisible wire between them pulled tight. "Jasmine would put me through a wall if she knew what I'm thinking." "Then don't tell me," she said, but it came out like a dare. He took a breath that changed the shapes in the air. "You want me to lie to you?" "No," she said, because she had started telling herself the truth again lately and didn't want to lose the habit. His jaw worked once. "I haven't stopped thinking about you since the porch." Her heart did the reckless thing. The old 12-year-old promise flashed like a warning light she did not intend to obey. "Malik?" "Say stop," he murmured, closer now, the cedar of him in her head as much as her nose. "I'll hear it the first time." Her body did not move. Neither did her mouth. He didn't kiss her. He let the moment be a kiss waiting, and somehow that was worse, or better. From inside the house, water hit tile. Jasmine started singing on a key that did not exist and bent it into one on sheer will. Maya exhaled, long, shaky. Malik stepped back a fraction, like a man who knows where lines are, even when he intends to cross them later. "Lemonade saved the day," he said, too light for what had passed between them. "Lemonade always does," she answered, voice not quite steady. That night, when she got home, she put the picture in the sink and texted, "Made it to Jasmine," then stared at Malik's name until the screen dimmed. Before she could talk herself into patience, she typed, "Fence looks good. You too." Then threw her phone onto the couch like it might catch fire. The dots came quick. Been trying to play it cool. She laughed out loud. "Alone. Not your gift." "Ain't trying to be gifted," he wrote. "Just trying to be honest." She sat on the floor, back against the couch, and let the admission wash over her. Warm as the last light, her plants were holding on their leaves. She typed me too, and then turned off all the lights. Sitting in the good dark, that feels like a room closing its eyes, not to sleep but to listen. She did not dream of fences. She dreamed of hands learning softness again. Part 3. Lines in the dark. Jasmine's game nights had rules. The snacks had to be outrageous. The playlist had to lean dramatic. And everyone had to play until someone either cheated too obviously or threatened to flip the table. Malik had never been a regular at these nights. He'd been gone for years, living a life too far for spades and charades. But here he was, dealing cards like he belonged, laughing at Jasmine's threats, sliding bowls of chips toward Maya like a host who noticed things. And Maya noticed back. She noticed the way his fingers tapped when Jasmine told a story he already knew. She noticed how his eyes drifted to her hands when she shuffled, like he remembered the way she used to doodle tiny suns in the margins of her math homework. She noticed too much. Halfway through the second round, her phone buzzed under the table. A message. She glanced down. "Malik?" Meet me outside in 5. Her stomach did a slow turn. She slipped the phone back, told Jasmine she was grabbing more ice, and stepped out the side door into a night heavy with heat and cicadas. The porch boards creaked under her weight. Malik leaned against the railing, arms crossed, head tipped like he was already laughing at her nerves. You came. You texted like it was an emergency. He shrugged. Kind of is. Her laugh was tight. This is reckless. This is honest. He pushed off the rail, closing the space. His height shadowed her, but it wasn't intimidation. It was inevitability. Tell me you don't feel it too, and I'll stop. She should have said it. The words were right there. I don't feel it. You're my best friend's brother. It's nothing. But her throat betrayed her, and silence told the truth she wouldn't. His hand lifted, not quite touching, just hovering by her jaw. You're not stopping me. Maybe I don't want to, she whispered. And then he kissed her. It wasn't soft, not at first. It was years of absence, crashing into years of wondering, lips pressed like a confession, hands finding waist, back, hair. When she finally broke the kiss, breathless, the air between them buzzed with something new. This is insane, she whispered. Yeah. His forehead rested against hers. But it feels real. They slipped back into the house separately, hearts racing. Jasmine, thankfully, was too busy arguing about Uno rules to notice the flush in Maya's cheeks. Later, when the house had emptied and Jasmine had gone upstairs, Maya lingered in the kitchen, helping clear dishes because movement made guilt quieter. Malik found her there, leaning against the counter like he'd been waiting. You should have gone home, he murmured. Why? Because I don't trust myself around you. Her laugh came out uneven. Maybe I don't either. The space between them shrank again. His hand brushed hers as she stacked plates, and then his mouth was on hers, hungrier, desperate this time. She gasped against him, arms winding into his shirt. He lifted her onto the counter like she weighed nothing, standing between her knees, hands strong at her waist. The kiss was fire, reckless, the sound of her journal pages tearing. She should have stopped, but her body betrayed her, arching into his touch, lips chasing his like she'd been waiting years. When they finally pulled apart, both gasping, the truth hung naked between them. We crossed the line, he said, voice rough. I know. Jasmine, she doesn't know. She'll find out. Maya's heart hammered. Then we deal with it. Later. He stared at her, then nodded, like he was surrendering to a war he didn't want to win. Later. The days that followed blurred. Texts slipped into nights, stolen glances stretched into touches. Malik sent her pictures of unfinished sketches on napkins, quotes he thought she'd love, playlists that hummed with soul and longing. She found herself writing again, full pages, words spilling faster than she could keep them. But guilt grew too. Every time Jasmine laughed, every time she wrapped Maya in a hug, the weight of betrayal pressed heavier. They had made that pact as kids, but it wasn't childish anymore. It was about trust. One evening, Maya sat on her couch, journal open on her lap, staring at a half-written sentence. If love is a crime, then I'm guilty every time I breathe. Her phone buzzed. Malik. I can't stop thinking about last night. She closed her eyes. Her pulse answered before her pen did. She texted back, "Me neither." That weekend, Jasmine threw a barbecue, filling the backyard with smoke and noise. Neighbors came, cousins came, laughter came easy, but Malik's eyes still found hers, across the yard, through the crowd, tethering her like invisible thread. At one point, she slipped inside to grab more napkins. The house was quiet, dim compared to the chaos outside. Malik followed, footsteps soft behind her. "You're glowing," he said simply, cornering her near the pantry. "Stop." She laughed nervously. "I mean it." His hand brushed hers, bold despite the crowd, just feet away. "You're everything I didn't know I needed." She leaned into him, the words unraveling her, making her want more. From outside, Jasmine called her name, breaking the spell. Maya jerked back, guilt slamming into her chest. "This can't last," she whispered. He looked at her, steady. "Then let's make it worth it while it does." Her throat burned with want and fear. She couldn't answer. That night, she lay in bed replaying everything. His touch, his voice, his scars, and the looming truth. Jasmine would notice. Jasmine always noticed. But still, she opened her journal and wrote, "Love is louder than rules, louder than fear. And I'm already deaf from the sound of him." She closed the book, pressed it under her pillow, and prayed she'd have the strength to face the storm when it came. Part 4. Breaking the Rule. The quietest truths are often confessed in the dark. It was nearly midnight when Malik finally spoke. They were curled on Maya's couch, the glow of the streetlight carving half his face into shadow. His head rested heavy against her shoulder, his voice low, almost swallowed by the hum of the city outside. "I don't talk about overseas much," he murmured, like the words cost him. Maya stilled, afraid to scare them away. "You don't have to." "I do," he interrupted gently. "At least once." His hand found hers, thumb tracing circles on her palm. "There was this night. Noise everywhere. My chest felt like it was caving in, like I couldn't get air. We lost 2 guys that week, and I thought, if I close my eyes, I'll never open them again. Since then, it's like some nights my body doesn't know how to forget. I wake up sweating, gasping. Sometimes I count seconds just to get through it. Seconds, minutes, exits, ways out." Her heart twisted. She tightened her fingers around his. "Malik?" "I stayed gone so long because I didn't want anyone to see that." His jaw clenched, as though the shame was heavier than the memory. "I didn't want my mom to look at me different. Didn't want Jasmine to worry more than she already does. Didn't want—" His eyes lifted to hers, raw and unguarded. "You, especially you, to see me cracked." Maya's throat burned. "You're not cracked. You're human. And you don't have to be solid with me, Malik. Not all the time." His chest lifted, then fell. "That's the thing. With you I feel softer, like I could breathe without counting. The words struck deep, more binding than any kiss they'd shared. She leaned in, pressing her lips to his forehead. He closed his eyes, finally letting silence hold him without fear. For the first time, Maya realized this wasn't just about wanting him. It was about needing him, and him needing her in return. And that terrified her as much as it thrilled her. The secret didn't last. Secrets never do. Jasmine wasn't stupid. She'd seen the glances, the touches that lingered, the way Malik and Maya bent toward each other, like gravity had taken sides. One Sunday afternoon, Jasmine cornered her in the kitchen while Malik ran an errand. Arms crossed, jaw tight. Her best friend didn't look playful this time. "You want to tell me why my brother looks at you like you hung the stars?" Jasmine's voice cracked like glass under strain. Maya's stomach plummeted. "Jas! Don't you dare!" Jasmine's eyes blazed. "Don't you dare! We had a pact. We promised you were supposed to be safe. And now, you've been sneaking around with him, behind my back." The guilt that had been simmering for weeks boiled over. Maya's eyes burned. "I didn't mean for it to happen." "You didn't mean to fall into my brother's arms? You didn't mean to kiss him behind my back?" Jasmine's voice rose. "What else didn't you mean, Maya?" Maya flinched, but forced herself to meet her best friend's eyes. "I didn't mean to fall in love with him." The words hung heavy. Jasmine's expression faltered, but the hurt stayed. "You love him?" "Yes," Maya whispered, voice trembling. "I tried to stop it, Jas. God, I tried. But it's not just a crush. He's the one who makes me feel seen, the one who makes me believe I can be more than lists and schedules. I love him." Jasmine's face twisted with betrayal, then confusion, then something softer, something she tried to bury under anger. "And what about me, Maya? Did you think about what it would do to me?" "I did," Maya said, tears spilling now. "Every day. That's why it hurt so much. But Jas, I can't let him go. I won't, even if it means you hate me for it." For a long, jagged moment, silence reigned. Jasmine's chest heaved. Her eyes flicked toward the door, as though she could see Malik walking back in. Then she shook her head. "I can't even look at you right now," she muttered, storming out. The slam of her bedroom door echoed like a gavel. The days after were jagged. Jasmine avoided Maya's texts, answered calls with clipped sentences, left group chats on read. Malik tried to ease it, but even he wasn't immune to his sister's fury. Dinner was tense. Laughter was scarce. Silence screamed louder than any words. Healing wasn't clean. It was awkward, messy, full of sharp edges. Sometimes Jasmine snapped at Malik. Sometimes she ignored Maya altogether. But cracks eventually let light in. It happened one evening on the porch, string lights glowing, the three of them caught in uneasy orbit. Jasmine finally broke the silence. "You better not hurt her," she told Malik flatly, eyes sharp as knives. Malik didn't flinch. "I'd burn the world down before I let her hurt." Something in Jasmine's shoulders loosened, though her lips still pressed thin. She glanced at Maya, who sat frozen, then back at her brother. "Fine. But if you two ever have kids, I'm naming the first one. Non-negotiable." Maya laughed through sudden tears, relief breaking her like a wave. Malik reached over, lacing his fingers with hers, thumb brushing her skin like a vow. For the first time in weeks, the porch felt like home again. Time weathered the fence Malik built, but it stood tall, sturdy, carrying the weight of summer storms and leaning neighbors. To Maya, it became more than wooden nails. It was a symbol of what they had built together. Some afternoons, the three of them sat on the porch. Jasmine sprawled with iced tea, complaining about her co-workers. Malik swayed gently on the swing, Maya tucked against his side, his thumb tracing her knuckles. Laughter drifted into the yard, carried by the breeze. Maya kept writing, her journal filled with poems, not of longing, but of belonging. One evening, she scribbled lines while Malik dozed beside her, and Jasmine hummed tunelessly in the kitchen. Some rules keep you safe, others keep you small. We made one once thinking it would save us, but love was never the danger. Fear was. And fear is not reason enough to let go of the best thing you've ever found. She closed the journal and slid it onto the nightstand, watching Malik sleep. His face softened in the moonlight. For the first time, she believed in forever. Not the perfect kind, not the easy kind, but the real kind. The kind you build, plank by plank, promise by promise. The kind you fight for, and sometimes the kind you have to break a rule to claim. Thank you for listening to The Storyteller's Moon. If this story touched you, scared you, or kept you on the edge of your seat, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps the stories alive, and I can't wait to share the next one with you under the moonlight. Until then, may your nights be safe and your dreams unforgettable.